we've got ourselves into a little bit of a predicament here. We got the ruby stuck. Snow was a little bit deeper through here than I was hoping it was going to be. This is the second time that I've tried to get up to the top of Rollins Pass and take a look at the old railroad trestles that are still up there in existence. And this is the second time I've been stopped by snow, but the first time I've actually gotten stuck in the snow. So I think we're going to have a little bit of fun. Well, as you can see, you managed to get the ruby unstuck. That was quite a bit of work to do so. Wouldn't you know it, 2 minutes after I get it unstuck, this guy shows up in his 4Runner here, and he's actually had better luck than I have. He's working his way back and forth, so stick around and see whether or not he needs any help. But it looks like he's clearing a path, and hopefully that path is going to help us to get out whenever it's time to do so without getting stuck and having to winch out again. So that was a lot of work to do that, and I'm glad that I spent the money on the winch. I'm glad that I spent the money on the setup that I did and that it worked the way it was supposed to. Otherwise, it would have been kind of nervous sitting here waiting, hoping for someone like this gentleman in the 4Runner shows up. But all right, onward, let's get this photo taken. So I made it up to Jenny Lake, which is on Rollins Pass. And Rollins Pass is the route that the railroad used to take back before Moffett Tunnel was constructed. And this is what allows the Union Pacific Railroad to cross the Continental Divide here in Colorado. It starts down at the East Portal Tunnel, and then as the train goes through the tunnel, it ends up coming out right around the Winter Park Ski Resort. So as you can see, Jenny Lake is completely frozen over. I don't know how thick it is. It would be very dangerous for me, especially up here by myself, to walk on the ice, so I'm not going to. So I'm right over here on the edge of where the shore is. And the goal is to shoot this way, get the texture of the lake, get the trees. The sun's about to set behind the mountains. The clouds are coming over, and this is going to be a black and white photo. So my goal is to really focus on texture and focus on lighting in order to make that black and white photo work. So now that we're here, I'm going to go ahead and get set up and see what the conditions look like. I'm thinking that I'm going to lower the tripod pretty low to the ice here, so that it really focuses on that texture. And then probably going to go into portrait orientation and shoot it that way, with a majority of my lens shooting this texture on the ice, and then just making sure that I get the trees and that background in the frame as well. So I've got the camera set pretty low to the ice here, because I'm really trying to accentuate the detail of those ripples in the ice from whenever the wind was blowing as it was starting to freeze over. There are some lakes that whenever they freeze over, you can actually see just frozen waves in it. Dream Lake up in Rocky Mountain National Park is very popular for that. A lot of people get up and photograph the patterns in the ice because of the way that it froze. Here, it's not as pronounced. There's just little ripples. It's not a smooth surface, but I'm still trying to capture as much of that texture as possible. I've got my shutter speed as 1/13 of a second. I'm at ISO 100, and I'm still at f/22. I'm trying to make sure that I have as much of this scene in focus as possible, so I have the aperture up. There are some people who don't like to shoot at those really stop-down apertures because they're afraid of diffraction. I think that once I throw it on the computer, I can determine whether or not I saw any diffraction, or if I was able to get the whole scene in focus and make sure that it was sharp edge to edge, corner to corner. It is getting quite a bit colder up here as that sun keeps getting lower, but the color in the sky is really getting better, and you can see it reflecting off of the ice here. It's picking up those nice warm golden tones from the sunset. I'm gonna stick it out just a little bit longer and take a couple more photos, and then gonna get going and really want to get past some of those worst ice spots before the sun goes down and have to rely on my lights to guide me where I'm going. But it's been a good trip so far. I hope the pictures were worth it. All right, back at home, and fortunately the trip down Rollins Pass wasn't near as eventful as the one up the pass. I managed to make it all the way through all the snow-covered areas without getting the Jeep stuck again, so I was glad not to have to pull that winch cable back out and figure out how to get myself unstuck. I've got 38 photos loaded within Capture One, and let's go ahead and take a look real quick. Pretty much everything in the photo is the exact same. The only thing different are the clouds, and as the clouds were moving across the sky, created a little bit different of effect. I've chosen one photo that I want to focus on, so I'm just going to come in here and put a little search criteria. Change the rating, we'll make it 5. And you can see now I have 2 photos here that are
pretty much the same, a little bit different clouds going here. So this one here is the one that we're going to edit and see if we got the photo we were looking for. So first I'm going to try to bring my shadows up a little bit. I'm a little bit dark here. I was underexposing while I was out there, so a little bit darker than I'd like to be. So I'm going to just lift the shadows up here, and I'll just take them all the way up. That's 100. We're going to take them all the way up there. Then I'm going to look at the highlights and focus a little bit. You can see we don't have anything really blown out here, but once we start making adjustments on the contrast and start playing with the levels a little bit, that may cause those to blow out a little bit. So we're just going to take the highlights here down, and I think about right about here is going to be a good number for the highlights. I'm going to bring my saturation up, and we'll take the saturation, get some more color in here, and just a little bit more right there. And then the other thing, I want to adjust my white balance a little bit in order to get just a little bit more warmth from the afternoon sun. And right about there looks good. Next I'm going to come in and adjust that contrast. And you can see as I adjust the contrast, you see that highlight is coming up a little bit. The overexposure warning in here that I've got turned on. So let's turn that off, and it doesn't look blown out really. It's a little bit bright. I'm going to leave it like that without adjusting the highlights anymore. I'm going to come in and adjust my clarity just a little bit, and I'll adjust my structure a little bit. And then I'm going to adjust the levels just a smidge here, bring that up, just a little bit of light there. And then I'm going to come up. You know, one of the problems that I had when I was out there, and I didn't even think about it, I was shooting into the sunset, and I put that neutral density, the gradient neutral density filter, in order to darken the sky and keep the foreground bright. And when I did that, I didn't even think about the reflection of the lens. And a lot of these lenses, they have white lettering that is on the inside of the lens. And whenever you put the filter in front of the lens and then you shoot directly in there, sometimes you get a little bit of reflection. And I can see in here, I've got this arc right here, which is where that reflection took place. So I'm going to create another layer in here and do it as a filled adjustment layer so I can see the effect that I'm doing. And then I'm actually going to bring those shadows back down in that area. And we're going to try to hide that just a little bit. I think that'll take it away. We'll clear that mask, and then we'll come back in with my brush tool, and I'm going to paint that mask back in and try to get that little curve to disappear a little bit. We're going to lose a little detail in the trees right in the center, but really the showcase of this photo is the sky and the color in the sky. So I'm not too concerned about losing a little bit here in the trees. And it looks like that's pretty much taken care of that issue. Next, I'm going to come over into my color palette, and I want to really saturate that blue a little bit more and make that stand out. Just a little bit more. And let's do the same over here on the oranges. We've got that beautiful color in those clouds. Let's bring that up just a little bit. Let's go ahead and put a crop on this. I'm thinking a square crop is going to look good. So we'll set that to 1 by 1 square. Come down here, bring this in, turn my grid on, and let's set the horizon right there. Set that row of thirds right there where that line meets. And that looks like a pretty good crop there. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring just a little bit more color in here by adjusting the tint. And as I slowly do this, you can see we get just a little bit of shade there. And I like that. And come into my details tab and make sure that we have a nice clean photo by bringing my noise reduction up. And back there. And I'm happy with that. The sky looks really nice. It's reflecting off the surface of the ice really well. I think it turned out to be a good photo, and fortunately it didn't cause any damage to the Jeep and didn't cause any damage to me while out there trying to get it. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get all the way to where I wanted to, a little bit further up the pass in order to see those railroad trestles. But we'll do that next year whenever the weather's a little bit nicer and the road is clear of ice and snow, and we're able to make the journey a little bit easier. So. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and seeing a part of Colorado that you may not have seen before. The scenery up on Rollins Pass is just beautiful. If you ever have an opportunity to get up there, I highly recommend taking the trip up there. Plan extra time because the road is a little rough and you will have to drive a little bit slower than you used to. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button down below. Let me know what you think of this video, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on that little notification so that you're made aware every time that I upload a new video. And hope that you join me next time when I go out to photograph more of colorful Colorado.